Welcome back. Bringing back another session recap for the campaign of the Endless Night. We're going to go over what the Sun Chasers have recently done in the prior session. The Sun Chasers started down the session in a tense strait. The robot, holding the small purple gnome that was once the kobold's deity in his arms. The kobolds angrily yelling at this metal construct for answers. The rest of the party arrived shortly after, and Ivy, taking charge with Lafir in tandem, managed to convince the room of kobolds that this was actually a cause for celebration, making a pile of logs appear before them, claiming they were edible, and a present from their many-legged god. Ivy, playing a smooth beat on her bongos, caused the room to stir with excitement. Van Racker. And a similar beat started to be played by the kobolds. The robot managed to creep through the crowd while they were distracted. Upon reaching the inclined slope, leaving the cavern, the party was located where the party was located at. Enix, seeing a familiar cape and cap in the distance, the presumed leader, who seemingly has the ability to teleport in previous sessions. His eyes flickered with greed, and the ponytailed drow with dilapidated robes and no shoes, their eyes lit with green energy, and that same energy crept down his arm, flowing through his tattoo sleeve, and that had been imparted by his patron. Then, out of his arm, a globe of green, soft-flowing energy flew through the air, falling softly, landing near the captain. And then in a mass explosion, a dome appeared around 60 feet in diameter. Blood and ash splattered all around the chamber. Most of the kobolds became the property of physics rather than a person in that instance. The druid began to awaken during the commotion, and as his eyes broke, he witnessed the act firsthand. He endured centuries of suffering due to his vow of nonviolence. Enforced wild shape, while in this dungeon, and the very ones who saved him are the ones slaying the life that he sought to protect. In a fit of desperation, he broke free of the robot's grasp, yelled, "What are you doing?" He positioned himself near the exit of the chamber. A wooden staff covered in fungus appeared in his left hand, slamming it down, and clothing appeared on his person. He started speaking in deep, grumbling, sharp breaths, and he took both hands, reached out, and grabbed the very fabric of reality and pulled it apart, casting the spell Earthquake, causing a massive schism that split the party in half. Some fell in. Parts of this cavern collapsed, leaving others under rubble. And the rest of the chamber seemed close to collapse. The druid grabbed his staff and began to walk away. The paladin, Sir Finn, shouted to him, "Please! I have so much to ask. I have been searching for someone just like you. Please tell me what's happened to this world." The druid paused and looked back with remorse in his eyes. "People like you are what happened to this world." The paladin jumped across the gap, sprinted to the druid, and prostrated himself on all fours, begging for forgiveness for his party and the sins that they have just caused. "Dangerous company you keep, Oathsworn. I'm aware, and I'm beginning to think that maybe the party isn't for me." Moved by his gesture, the druid looks at him. "Perhaps, but it might be your fate to lead them on a better path. You saved me, but slaughtered needlessly. We're even as far as I'm concerned." Some time passed, and the Sun Chasers regaled Percival of their tale and took interest in them, he took interest in them. Particularly the part about them having a contract to slay the dragon of this region. "I'm aware of its presence, Well, we brought that same dragon to this region, assuming it's the same one. But it shouldn't have attacked needlessly, like you say. If it's doing so, that means the pact that we made with it is broken. Very powerful magic. In return for decimating the armies of both Binfaldurians and the Edmazai in an act of desperation, you must understand, we tried to end the war. We tried to talk peace with them. We tried to get them to see reason for the madness that they were sowing in the Underdark. But nothing worked. We had to respond in kind, with force. They were setting our wilds on fire, our rock gardens being destroyed. And so, in a deal with this dragon, we made it a lair to its specification, and in so, he blocked the only passage from the surface to the Underdark, separating both armies while destroying them both, putting a pause on the war. Keeping nature preserved. If the dragon is free, then it means my circle, the Underkai, is missing. I set out around 100 years ago, before I became trapped, to find this very crown, as he points to the circlet above his head, twisted and silvery, with little motes of clouds floating around it. As he points to the circlet, this very item allows us to journey into our rock gardens, allowing us to commune with our eldest members, those who are most knowledgeable in our ways. Without it, we were cut off from our wisdom and our leaders. Someone had stolen the circlet, and in so caused me, and trapped me until you all saved me. This very item forced me to remain in my wild shape. I was bound. There was no way I could break all the crystals by myself. I tell you this. If you promise to accompany me and reunite my circle, I will heal your friend. This condition, this affliction that seems to be clouding him, I'm sure I can fix it. And also, if we can even reunite my circle, you might not even have to fight the dragon. We could keep him under oath. Deal? The party accepted, and the druid got to work on breaking this condition of the brain-dead halfling. Our session ended with the ending of Fiddlethumb's dream. Prior, we talked about a vision of sorts that he had in a different life. And as that wave of blue energy overtook him, destroying his home, his partner, the alien yet familiar home that wasn't his, but felt like home. The two children turned to dust. It eventually took and washed over himself, or the body that he was inhabiting in that instance, ripped into him, incinerating everything about him, pulling him apart, forcing him out all at once, getting disassembled atom by atom. His vision turned completely white, and then a mote of color, right over here, appeared in the horizon, and that same mote became larger and larger, and soon encompassed his entire vision. And for a moment, he took his first breath. He could see the chamber. He saw the individual. Before he was fully awake, he was in a white space, naked. He saw that the figure, the outline of this individual's soul, piecing together his and shunting him out back into his body. Breathing again, he notices that same figure, a scar going down his left eye, white hair, high cheekbones. Claw going through his left ear. I'm glad you're awake. That was pretty much everything that transpired in that session. It was a very role-play heavy session. I did expect them to fight the kobolds. I actually tried to push very hard for it to happen. But with certain spells that were cast, Enix, kind of threw me for a loop. I won't lie. Which I'm not mad at. Sometimes it happens. And honestly, it probably turned out for the best because I would have had to use the horde mechanic for mass amounts of enemies. Because I think I had like 60 kobolds in that room. And the players need to feel strong too. Like they're gonna have moments like that. And the items that they did get from the captain were actually pretty good. The hat, the bicorn, is, well, kind of like both ways. But that hat is actually a +1 to charisma saves. And then the cape itself allows them once every dawn to use Misty Step. So it gives a bit of mobility. Not crazy items, but they were additional loot regardless. And that's what this entire dungeon was for. Leveling up and getting loot. So, I mean, I'm glad it led to a good moment. And I'm glad that the party has unlocked this content. I think in the prior videos, I've made 2 of these so far. But in the prior video, I mentioned how I was trying to have a, como se dice, I was trying to have more of a, I forget what I was going to say. But nevertheless, I wanted, now I remember. I wanted since I put in the new long rest system that I have for my party, I wanted the fights to be more of a slogfest, more dynamic. They're not just, I'm going to kill this one individual enemy at a long rest. And so I knew what I was signing up for. They were going to have a lot more smaller fights that would drain their resources all the way until they got to their next long rest, which so far is working really well for me. And probably a separate video we'll talk about. If you guys are interested, we could talk about that long rest system. But so far for this session, it was a really good time. Next Sunday, this Sunday, 13th, we're going to have our next session, hopefully. And then I'll keep you guys updated with another recap video. Keep tuned because I'm going to have our next video is going to be pretty much what I'm prepping for that 13th. So stay tuned, and I should have that soon. Stay safe.